I thought they were there from a benefit. I
Mm,
disclosed things to her which I thought was going to be held in private, which was later used against me on the fucking show.
yeah.
So then I stopped. So I'm like, I'm completely fucked. You know, if you're going to do that, you need rather independent, unregulated, unbiased support, not they're feeding it back to producers. Like, it cracks the code. It's of the ethics of what it's called to be a doctor or a psychologist.
Are you going through life blind? This is Eyes Wide Open with Nick Thompson. On this podcast, we share knowledge and stories that build human connection while elevating stigmatized societal issues such as mental health, holistic wellness, culture, free speech, and more. All to ensure we show up in the world with our eyes wide open. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Eyes Wide Open. Our guest today is Ben Walters. Ben is a podcast host of the podcast Get Lost with a Travel Guide, and he is a cast member of Married at First Sight in Australia. You have been making headlines, my friend, but welcome to the show, and thank you for coming on and taking time with me today.
Appreciate it, mate. It's finally
Yeah.
good that we're actually properly connecting because we've been sort of touching base for a long period, and then you got the time zones on that. So it's good that
Yeah.
finally connecting properly.
You're you're in Australia, and like I made the dad joke already, like you're in the future, so we make it to another day, which is always a positive thing. But yeah, and I actually feel bad too, because when you were first messaging me, I had the flu, and I was so sick from the flu, and then it turned into pneumonia. So I was like out of commission for like 6 weeks in the
Yeah.
beginning of this year, and it was just like I just lost touch because I wasn't going on Instagram. It just made me like everything was making me sick. But I'm really glad that we're finally able to talk, both off camera and then online here too for everybody else. But I want to dive into some of the work you've been doing in reality TV, specifically in the MAFS arena over in Australia. And, I've had a couple people from previous seasons of MAFS in Australia on this show over the years as well. So I think, I'm really happy to have you. But before we get into all the good stuff you're doing over there, um, what did you want to be when you were a little kid? And then how did that lead you to being an advocate for reality TV cast member rights? I
Fucking
bet you
great.
didn't have that as what you wanted to be when you were growing up.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I mean, as a kid, I don't know what I wanted to do. Something, be a doctor, fireman, astronaut. But when I'm in teenage years, my answer was always like travel. I love geography and history. And my answer, like students, like, what do you want to do to grow up? It's like travel. Well, I did. And then that evolved into being a European tour manager or tour guide, taking coach trips around Europe. And then that evolved into taking trips around Australia for years. And that evolved to me buying a bus. So I remember career advisors saying to me, "Oh, what kind of career is that?" Well, fucking did it. No. That's what it means. It means able to leverage that to get on a reality show. It means able to leverage travel experience, which got me exposure to end up getting shafted with a pineapple on a reality show. Henceforth, that's how we led here, and now advocating uh, and making more awareness on how I never would in a million years thought some pretty dark shit happens on the behind the scenes of a reality show. But here we are having a chat. Like, is that coincidence? No. Like, we don't know each other. You're in America and Australia. However, we're singing a very similar tune.
And that's what's so interesting to me. And it opened my eyes, no pun intended, but it opened my eyes to like, wow, this isn't a United States issue. This isn't a Europe issue. This isn't an Australia issue. This is, by the way, it's also a Nordics issue. It's a South America issue. Like the amount of people I've talked to from varying shows across the world, there's different levels of it, but it's all so dark and it's all so damaging to people. It's crazy that we're some of the things that we do to people for entertainment purposes.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, you nailed it. It's nothing new in society. Like, God, look at ancient Rome with the gladiators. Like, we like watching
Wait a minute.
awful shit.
I compare it to that too. I know I was telling you we have like a lot of the same comparisons for never talking. I
Mm,
compare the gladiator games and the circuses that were created during the Roman Empire because they wanted to distract people as the empire was expanding and starting to collapse. They wanted to distract people, so they turned them against each other. So you're laughing at clowns, you're laughing at people fighting each other, and then it has to escalate, just like reality TV. Now you've got a human being fighting a lion, and people are cheering for the lion.
yeah. I think a turning point was the American Howard Stern, like a shock jock. You know,
Mm,
in 70s and 80s, like particularly in the 1950s, 60s, there was good, clean, wholesome family entertainment. And then he started doing some pretty outrageous shit and become hated. But the ratings went through the bloody roof, and there were studies around that. So there was a shift in entertainment, and then like Jerry Springer, you know, like how do
hmm.
we poke these motherfuckers till they snap or crack? Stick a
Yeah.
camera on it. It's like, oh my god, like or your NASCAR races. Yeah, they go round and round, but damn, the crashes are spectacular, and that's the highlights reel. So, how do you generate that with people with arguments and fighting? So, the reality element, ooh, there must be some
Yeah.
agendas here to get the car crash equivalent. And it's not until you're on one of the shows you're like, wow, holy fuck, that is so clever on how they were to orchestrate some of these situations for entertainment. And that's the awful thing about it. You don't know
Yeah.
what you're
And
doing.
I,
You don't know what you signed up
yeah,
for.
you don't. And people say often, oh, well, you signed up for it. And I've heard you talk about this before, which I encourage people to follow you on TikTok because you do it in an educational and sometimes funny and comedic way, show what happens in reality on reality TVs. But I think what's so crazy to me, and I've said this before, but like it really opened up my eyes because I had a really close knit group of friends and family, and I didn't, I was very particular about the people I keep around me and the people that I surround myself with. In When I opened up my life to the world on reality TV, it just kind of like exposed me to so many different kinds of people, to so much hate, so much unhappiness, mental illness in a lot of cases for like people that are get obsessed with these shows where it's like people are going through my Venmo transactions, like stuff like that. And I'm just like, whoa, I can't believe how serious people take some of this stuff. And while what's happening to us on these shows is serious and it is real life to us, to them it's entertainment. And so it's like I it was eye opening to me to see how serious people were going to take these shows and the things people said or didn't say in or out of context and really believe the things that they see when they're watching a TV show.
Totally. Like I go to my local pub, right, on a Friday night and there's rugby on TV and people are losing their shit, screaming at the TV, blaming the referee. Like they're just pixels on a screen. That's it.
Mm,
That's how they see it. They don't know that there's a human being. They don't know that there's a officiator putting the whole event together with a lot of moving parts. They just see pixels on a screen and then they throw their fucking food at the TV, blaming everything, blaming their shit player for losing. I think that's just insane. Like, and people's got their
mm-hmm.
opinion. Oh, if I was the coach, they should have passed the ball left. They should have passed the ball right. Oh, I thought, mate, you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't been there. You don't have a clue. And I think that's the
Yeah.
same person that watches the show going, if I was on the show, oh, fucking hell, I would have said this. Mate, you don't know what you're talking about. You
Yeah.
just don't. It's,
Well,
it's what do
those
you do?
people that I think the people that say you signed up for it, I think there's like three batches of them. There's one that is like, I just don't know. Yeah, you signed up for it. Oh, ABC happened. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, I had no idea. Then there's the other ones that are like, well, you signed up for it. And then you talk to them and they're just like, well, you just signed up for it and you've got to deal with it. You have your 15 minutes. And then there's the people who are the third. And I think those are the ones that are what you're talking about, where they look at it and they resent you for having an opportunity they didn't get and that they think they would have done better at it than you. And therefore, they're like coming at you from like a place and a hate of resentment for not having the opportunity that they thought they deserved. And I think
Mm,
those people are the ones that like you'll never break through to them. Like you'll never get them to understand that. You have no idea what you're going into until you live through it.
I mean, in order to shift someone's mindset, it might take a podcast. But firstly, I mean, he calls this podcast Eyes Wide Open. They need to have their like mind wide open. They need to have an open mind, see both sides of the fence, and then try to maybe draw a different conclusion. That is a hard thing to do when people have got a fixed mindset. So that's sort of stage one.
True.
And then secondly, everyone's busy in their own life. Why would someone want to take the time and actually, listen to someone else tough times or learn about it? So I do try to make it entertaining or educational to try to crack the code in their mind to the best of my ability. But, there's some awful shit going on. Everyone's got mortgage prices and, bad problems with their own family. Everyone's got their own
feeding their family. Yeah, they don't have the time. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think, and that's the same with anything, right? Like news, politics, people don't have time. So they'll read the headline. They'll listen to the 30-second clip on the TV to try and keep themselves abreast of what's going on in the world. And I think with reality TV too, like people do watch it to be entertained. And I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't think people who are speaking out about how cast members are treated necessarily want to like get rid of reality TV. I know I just want it to be produced ethically in a way that like people can experience it, not have their lives ruined, and then viewers can watch it knowing that they're not supporting something that is exploiting people to the absolute extreme.
I don't think that'll be able to happen. The reason being, the secret sauce, and see if we're on the same page because we're on other sides of the world, but I'd imagine the production is similar strategies. To strategically pressure someone to a point with sleep deprivation or manipulation will help them crack on camera, and that's that car crash TV where they're trying to generate, and they try to make it new levels each time. So if there is support and you're actually going to help someone's mental health, how is the car crash is going to occur? They might be a minor crash to that equivalent. So therefore the ratings will drop. So I can't see it. If anything, I can just see it getting worse.
Well, yeah, I think it is. I think you escalate it. Every season, these shows are escalating it because people become numb to it. But I do think it could still be entertaining. Maybe it would be like a reset, like couple seasons, people would be like, there's the car crash no one dies in. And then, maybe it would level set again. I don't know, but I think that's a good point. I hadn't really thought of that before. But one thing I want to ask you, because I've got a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about today. How did you end up on Married at First Sight? And what was your experience getting to the show?
I was a person probably never belonged there. I was a fish out of water. A lot of people I find that apply for the shows love reality TV, love the car crash. And the ones that probably thrive in that stuff can consciously go on and just have a fight or argument with someone else and sleep well at night knowing that they did that. It likens me to that Amber Heard, Johnny Depp shit show of just like consciously and strategically throwing shit at someone and then it sticks. It's a game of personalities, and that I had no idea what I was even in for. I don't find reality TV interesting or entertaining, yet that's why I have friends of mine going, how the fuck did you make it, bro? Like, you don't belong in this shit.
Mine said the same thing to me. They're like, what are you doing? This is not you. And I felt that way too. I like sleepwalked into it. I never thought they would cast me. I feel like I was trying to convince them not to cast me in every interview and comment that I had because it just didn't suit my personality really at all.
Well, for me, I met someone on Married at First Sight. I went to this podcast thing in Newcastle and she was presenting an award or something. So people were taking selfies with her, did not know who she was. And then she goes, I was on Married at First Sight a couple of years. She was on there twice or something. So big following. And at the time in Australia, it's still like it's the number one show.
It's like the number one show.
So she was pretty interesting, pretty cool character. Chatted for like 20 minutes and then I watched 4 or 5 episodes. Now, this was happening during COVID. and I just re-entered the construction industry because COVID and tourism did not mix. There was no way of pivoting that well. So I was like soul crushing, going on a construction site, back on the tools, thinking, fucking hell, like just I've got to grind out this pandemic. And then I seen an advert to go, hey, do you want to be on Married at First Sight? And with my tourism background, I thought, well, that's an edge. Like, I think that's interesting.
Mm.
Like a European or Australian tour manager on the tools, that's a character, that's something unique. And I'm not afraid to speak. And I was doing podcasts at the time, and presenting to an audience or a tour, so comfortable with it. And then nailed the interviews. So I was just like this, just I'm comfortable speaking on a pod. So I was able
Mm.
to. I thought, I think I got what it takes to make a show. And that same show, they made another one called The Summit, which is about chasing money. That was about adventure. I would have fucking preferred that one. Yeah, I'll take $1 million over love. I can swipe right for that shit. But yeah, they bounced back, said, "Do you want to be on MAFS?" And then they cancelled on me. I was like so close, man. And tourism's come back and they said, "Sorry, you're not quite there." I was like, "Motherfuckers," but I understand.
Ah.
The next year, same deal. They got me shortlisted again, to a point, pack your bags, here's a contract. So it's 2 years in a row, like so close. And sorry, you're not there.
Oh.
And like, God damn it. So then the third year come around, tourism has started to bounce back. I was starting to get find my feet again. And they said, "Do you want to be on the show?" And they said, "Congrats, you're on it." And
Yeah,
they
that's
go,
what
"You're
they
not
do.
excited." I'm like, it's 3 years in a row. Like, I'm waiting for you to fucking cancel on me again. So like I never bought into it. They're for the right reasons, cast. Well, also from their perspective, if they found me this perfect match 3 years in a row, yeah, sure. Yeah. Love of my life happens to reappear once a year. Yeah, come on. So
Yeah.
I was there for the experience. But there was a genuine part of me was there thinking, okay, if this is an amazing woman, I'm going to give this everything I got with a complete open
Yeah.
heart. And I did that the best I could. So that's kind of
Yeah.
how I got there. It was by fluke, but a bit of luck and a bit of willingness to think, and I can do this. I think I got an X factor, an edge to get me on one of these shows. So I did it
Mm.
not with any intention of purpose. I thought, fuck it, I think I can do it, and that was it.
I actually have changed my mindset on what is the right reasons for going on these shows, and it's not necessarily because of anything specific that happened to me, but when they're casting for the drama and they're casting for these storylines that they want to tell that are so preposterous and far-fetched away from real life, that if you have someone who's like, I think I can do this, I think I can thrive in this, I think I can win this, I I could be convinced that's the right reason, right? Like going on one of these shows for love, sure, that could be the right reason, but they're not making this show to help you find love. They're making this show to make money. And as you said, car crash, TV.
Yep.
So if someone thinks they can thrive in that scenario, who am I to say that's the wrong reason?
Well, love sells. The biggest seller for entertainment, yeah, the fights, the drama, and also love. Everyone
Yeah.
wants it's life's greatest experience. So everyone wants to find that, or have had it and lost it, and have divorce or had happy whatever. Everyone's got a connection to it. So everyone's sort of, and there's it's life's biggest mystery as well. So people are continuously
Mm.
trying to learn or relate to people in that space, mixed with fighting. Oh, fucking what entertainment we could be a part of. So it's clever. It's a
Yeah.
clever concept.
So that makes me want to ask you something related to that. So on these shows, Married at First Sight, I was on Love is Blind, 90 Day Universe, Love Island, whatever show you want to talk about, love show. People do watch these shows, I think, for love. I think one of the reasons Love is Blind was such a big hit was because there's some real love stories that came out of the first season. And it kind of like renewed people's faith in maybe reality TV, this new type of show that's different, and they use that to sell the cast too. But when people are watching these shows, and love is a great mystery, as you said, what do you think about how these shows tell their stories, these shows show relationships, and we're going to get to the experts in your show. But what do you think, or what impact do you think this has or teaches viewers that are watching this about behaviors in a relationship or in a friendship or in anything like that? Do you think it has a net positive, net negative? Well, what are your thoughts on how it portrays to the audience and what it teaches them?
That's a really great question. And despite myself being on a reality show, I can't really give an informed opinion because I don't watch reality TV. And one of the reasons why I don't is I've cracked the code on how it works and experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, I liken it to like a magic show. You know, some people watch it and blown away with the magic and they actually believe in the magic. It's like, bro, it's a fucking trick. And once you
So
learn the
true.
trick, once you crack the code of what the magician does, you see it through a different lens. You see it through a different filter, and unfortunately, you can't unlearn that. So for me, if I watch a show, I used to love years ago Gordon Ramsay. Fuck, is entertaining. It's car crash kitchen shows. Then after being on MAFS, I watched an episode of it. I feel like Gordon Ramsay. I think he's an entertaining character. But damn, I cracked the code. I figured out what's going on. Like every restaurant has drama. Fuck off. Like, no way. It's a TV show. So what do you do?
Yeah, I agree.
People haven't quite cracked the code. So people are still tuning in, and so long as people are still tuning in and sells, well, then it's gonna keep going.
Yeah, I can't watch it. I can't watch it either. And when people ask me, people still will stop me or ask, "What do you think of the new season?" And my only response is like, "It's not real. Whatever you're watching, just assume it's not real."
It's, I don't know. It is real because it's unscripted. So there is an element of it being real. However, it's put in strategic guardrails to bounce in a direction to which is out of your control. So no matter how much
That's true.
sway you've got or you think you have on the show, no, it is a TV show completely guided down a path. So certain things that happens or no, bullshit. There's certain sentences or conversations that can be real. However, it's put in such a strategically guided scenario where the conversation can only flow in one direction. If that kind of makes sense. It's
No, it does.
well,
It
speaking to you, who gets it, is still a very hard thing to articulate.
Oh, it is, and it's one of, like you said, once you live through it, your eyes kind of come open to it, and you're not really able to watch it through the same lens. But what I find is the best approach, and this is what I tell cast members when I talk to them, is you almost have to like, and I think viewers need to do this too in a little bit of a different way. You have to separate yourself from the edit, because even if it, and that's not if you have a bad edit. I remember watching it back, and I watched it back once, and I was like, I definitely didn't say that to that person. And I'm like, I don't remember who I said it to, but I never talked about that with that person. And the way they edit in Love Is Blind is like, you've got pods, right? You're each in different pods. There's a wall between you. But when the camera's on you and your pod, it can be, you're talking to anyone in real life in the other pod. And they can just edit it with something they said with someone else and make up a whole conversation. And so I think viewers need to, one, watch these shows for entertainment, like you would watch a scripted show. And two, realize that like you as an individual have to separate yourself from what you're seeing on TV, because people get triggered by what they see on the TV, which is what causes them to feel like they need to go be cruel to someone or have an opinion of someone that could be completely manufactured within this manufactured environment, all through a storyline that this person was not an active participant in. Well, they were a participant in the storyline, but not an active participant in constructing it.
I see what you're saying. If you sign a contract saying that that's how it's going to be, well, then that's on you. if it's clearly communicated, there will be separation. If it's clearly communicated, there's going to be unethical edits, and we own your content. Well, too bad. It's what you signed up for. And there's part of me understands that, and part of me that completely gets that. The juicy part is not all of that is articulated to that entirety.
When you don't understand it.
Don't understand it. So,
which brings me to my argument against that. But actually, go ahead. I'll do that, and then I'll give you my argument.
Well, it's likening to that. It's talking about you're the gladiators. If you want to get out in the field and fight a tiger or a lion and you get eaten, well, too bad. It's what you signed up for. But what if you signed up for to be that entertainment and they didn't tell you there's going to be a fucking tiger coming out of nowhere?
Exactly.
That's where it gets like, ooh, okay. Especially if they clearly said, no, there'll be fighting. You might get bloody injured along the way, but you're not going to die. And then they set you up where you could die. It's like, I didn't fucking sign up for that. So
exactly,
it's being completely taken advantage of.
Exactly, and that's kind of my argument. My argument is, can you read that contract that says we can misrepresent you? You're subject to public ridicule. You can be completely, essentially defamed, whatever, right? If you don't know what that actually entails, if you don't know that you're going to be fighting a tiger, but you're signing up to fight in the gladiator fight, how are you actually giving informed consent?
Mm-hmm.
You can't. And when you talk to your doctor, when you sign a contract to play in a sport, you sign a contract to go fight in the UFC, you sign a contract with an employment place, like what happens when someone violates that contract? Right? What happens when you're scheduled to work 40 hours a week and then you start and they make you work 50? Yeah, there's laws to protect you against that.
I'm glad you point that up because we're talking about gladiator sport, but that's more relatable to the masses, I guess. You go to your workplace and you sign up for a 40-hour week, and that's what you signed up for, and then you get used to it.
That's what they're paying you for.
Yep, you've set everything aside in your life for this new occupation. Then all of a sudden, there was a takeover or new management. They come in and go, well, you might have signed up for this role. You're not anymore. We've got you by the balls. Now you're going to do 80 hours a week, and we're going to halve your pay. And goodbye. And it's like, what? I didn't sign up for that. It's like, yes, you did. You fucking signed the contract. So, fuck, here we go again. So that's probably a more relatable explanation, I think.
Yeah. And I think
there's workers. There's a reason why there's unions. It's for this fucking reason.
Yep.
But there's no. We're probably the best equivalent for the union is people like ourselves. We're a small voice, and we're not fighting over lack of pay or better working conditions, but we're fighting over fucking people are killing themselves over this shit. It's long-term mental. It's awful shit. It's fucking awful shit that they're getting away with. That's my problem with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And although I do think we should be fighting for more pay and more rights, but that's nothing I think we would really disagree on. But what I think is so scary about this whole thing is that reality TV production has just somehow flown under the radar while being on the biggest screen when it comes to basic rights. They don't give basic rights, let alone employee rights, right? They don't give basic rights. You don't get adequate food and water. You don't get sleep. You don't get mental health support before, during, or after. In a lot of cases now, there's arguments people have there, but like what's adequate, that's debatable, all of that stuff. But they've just escaped all of these regular things that we've decided happen in every other industry, including movies and TV shows. But somehow reality TV has escaped. How do you think that is until recently when people like you and I and several others have started speaking up about these contracts, our experiences, our working conditions? How do you think we got here?
It's a great question. I think there's twofold here. This is a hard question, but there's a lot of juice to squeeze out of this one. So that car crash entertainment needs to go to new heights, to new levels of drama. So how do you position people to crack to a whole new level, or fights or arguments or brutality? So part of that secret sauce is increase the sleep deprivation, increase the, maybe even the casting for crazier people. That's obviously a great one, but that's probably a variable which will be limited. But what you can increase that variable to maximize those people's mental health to snap is increase the pressure, is put less food on there. Like, I think, therefore, I likened it, which I've said before, that analogy of the frog in the boiling water. You know, I don't know if you know that one, but as the temperature rises, you know,
The frog has no idea.
the frog has no idea, but something else, you come along like, fucking hell, it's hot water. So, Married at First Sight, for example, I entered it at season 11 and up to season 12. Temperature's been rising throughout the years, so new people's entering in. They're going, what the actual fuck is going on? I'm included, and I think even season 12 now has just finished. My understanding, so it's got to even a new level. So now they're going to be casting for, season 13. What the fuck? Like, I can't imagine
it just keeps escalating
you have to make crack even more. So,
did you have to go through any? Oh, go ahead.
I can't remember what I was saying. There was twofold. It was that, and I think I had a good point and forgot it because it sends me down a rabbit hole. That one.
If I had $1 for every time I forgot a good point, I'd be rich. Did you guys have like psychological evaluations or any mental health support before or during the show?
Yes. So there was a lot of ticking of the boxes. You know, how do you feel in this situation? How do you feel in that situation? You know, people do like a Myers-Briggs test to determine personalities. It had a lot of that. I don't know exactly what that test was. I could send it to you. Actually, I could probably figure out. It is type of evaluation.
I'm very familiar with Myers-Briggs.
So there was a not on-site, supposedly 24/7 psychologist, because to their credit, they did offer psychological support, but I don't feel it was done correctly. So if you're feeling pressure, hey, you can chat to a psychologist and they say it'll be okay. The gripe I got with that is it's funded by Endemol Shine. And what I found absolutely fucking shocking is I thought they were there from a benefit. I disclosed things to her which I thought was going to be held in private, which was later used against me on the fucking show. Yeah. So then I stopped. So I'm like, I'm completely fucked. You know, if you're going to do that, you need rather independent, unregulated, unbiased support, not they're feeding it back to producers. Like, it cracks the code. It's of the ethics of what it's called to be a doctor or a psychologist. Like, what the actual fuck? So
no, I couldn't agree more. I think we need independent mental health experts on set.
For me, I went through trauma. So when I left the show, I got diagnosed with a traumatic experience. So I got treated for, I wrote this one down because I can remember this one. So it's a super long word called EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So it's a methodology.
Which, by the way,
treated for trauma.
That's used for like soldiers coming back from war.
You nailed it. So I went through that, and they gave me originally 6 sessions, which then went on to 10 or 12, and it wasn't quite healed. And they said, no, we're going to stop treating you. Now, interestingly, Channel 9 has been big publicly saying, we will give continuous mental health support to anyone who's been on MAFS. Well, speaking from experience, and I've got documentation, bullshit. Yeah. That's incorrect.
That's what I was saying earlier. They say it.
It's just protecting the brand. That's all it is. They're not doing it for genuine care. They're doing it because they got a business to run. So that's all it is.
It's like their social responsibility is saying we give all of our cast members aftercare.
No, it's a Band-Aid to an open wound.
Now, you mentioned the ethical situation, which, by the way, again, I just want to reiterate, independent mental health professionals on set that have the ability to sit down with someone and say, this person is not fit to film, and we will address this tomorrow. And that doesn't mean they're going to film tomorrow, but that means they're going to talk with that mental health professional again, who's not funded by the production company or by the network. They're actually independent. Just like in the NFL, when you have a concussion neurologist doing tests on the sidelines instead of team doctors, right? But what I want to get your thoughts on is, and this is something at the UCAN Foundation, which again, I know you've been supporting, and I thank you for that. The mentions and everything, I'm very grateful for that. We have a Dr. Isabel Morley on our board of directors, and she works with our mental health advocacy work. And one of the things that she's brought up is the ethical concerns. And when you're working with a client, like it's at least in the APA, the American Psychologist Association, I think that's what it is. Here in the States, like you're ethically supposed to advocate for your client. Like that's in your code of ethics. So when you're out there literally telling production things about your client that they're sharing in seemingly confidentiality, you're breaking that code. But there is no code around reality TV, right? So what would you like to see from an ethical perspective from mental health professionals that are working on these shows, whether that be through production or if we ever get to a place where we get to have an independent professional? What would you like to see from an ethical perspective?
Can't really comment too much on the psychology side of things because I'm not well versed. I understand that space.
Mm-hmm.
I can certainly just apply common sense because another reference is I've worked many years of construction. So on a construction site, it's a workplace with dangers and people die and people have accidents, right? It's an easy measurable thing to quantify. If there's an accident, someone gets their leg broken, right? Which
Right.
happens, which is common occurrence. You can't really visually see that leg being broken on reality TV because it's mental. So it's hard to measure.
Yeah.
It's hard to quantify. It's super complicated. So having a psychologist is that measure, is that means of determining, is this person fit to be filming right now or do they need a break? So that is that, construction, they call them a site supervisor or a safety rep, visually, or that, they've got CCTV to figure out, there's going to be a danger here. Do like a risk analysis, can someone die from this? So a similar process, stopping people from getting injured or even killed. Why not apply that to a reality show? So hard to do, but I don't think it's going to happen because I think it'll curb the drama from being less dramatic. So the shows won't rate. So I think it can save lives and certainly help people's mental health. But how do you make a dramatic show occur after that? I think it'll fucking kill the industry. So that's going to be an interesting space.
I agree, and it's completely disruptive to the business model. But my hope and my belief is that if we somehow manage to get kind of those basics there and we force the industry to change, it's not going to go away. They will find a way. And I don't think that it's something that we as a society should accept. And of course, it's been going on now for 40, 50 years with reality TV, dating back to Jerry Springer and Cops and like all of these shows back in the 80s. But I think we have to decide, and we have to convince people like you and I have to convince people and drive awareness that we are not going to be a society that ruins people physically or mentally for the entertainment of our peers. And I think that's got to be kind of like the North Star of the stance for any kind of movement like this, or else it is just going to keep going. And, people will just accept it. People will take it as fact. And then, the movement kind of dies. And I don't want to see that happen. And I don't want to accept that this is the social contract we're going to have is reality TV gets to ruin people's lives for the entertainment of others.
It's a tough one. I don't have the answers. how it looks forward. Like, if Channel 9 or Animal Shine or a big production company said, okay, Smarty Pants, what's the answers? I don't know. I'm highlighting the fact, and these are facts, it's not right how they're able to get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, without going down a rabbit hole of COVID, I think we're in an interesting space right now where people are finally questioning what they watch on TV through politicians, through, right or wrong, like not getting political, but a lot of people are questioning what they're being taught, questioning what they're being shown on the show, thinking, hang on, who's behind the curtain pulling the strings? So if you can believe and think like that, watch reality TV with a similar lens is my suggestion. And upon that,
That's
think, holy
great.
fuck, it's just a human on the other end, and they've been fucked over so hard for entertainment. I mean, properly fucked, where people's killed themselves. Hang on a minute, this isn't right. So for me, that's the message to really drive home to people. And
I
what
love
the
that
solution
message.
is to curb that, you mentioned NFL having independent doctors. Hey, I love footy. Let's watch the entertainment. Cool. Who doesn't like watching a fucking Gordon Ramsay fight on TV? Amazing TV. Cool. Keep it running. Keep it safe. That's it. How you keep
Yeah.
it safe? We can brainstorm ideas and try to implement it. Sure. I don't have the solutions. You need smarter people than me, which that's not hard. Come on. But seriously, like that's it. That's the solution. So having maybe lawyers, medical or psychological professionals, having the Jerry Springer, like Steve, break up the fight. What that is, I don't know, but I know that it is possible to make it safer. There's no doubt about that. I firmly believe it's
Yeah.
possible. And also, how do you stop that corruption to a degree? Like the producers got a show. They got a responsibility to make an entertaining show with pressures to be the number one show with ratings. Fuck, that's a hard job.
Yeah.
But you can't just push aside the law in order to get there. And that's the problem.
They do. They do. That's what's so crazy is like
Power corrupts.
if
So
you got in
yeah.
a fight, and this is the police case I wanted to ask you about because I know that the police have gotten involved recently. Someone smashed someone with a glass. Is that right? Am I remembering that right?
Was that
Imagine doing that.
oh yeah. Olivia. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's
Doing
a
that
big
in a
debate.
bar, you're going to jail.
Yeah, just any workplace. And that's the funny thing. If it is reality and that was a real moment, and you're smashing glass either at somewhere at a table, who cares? Glass was smashed by losing your shit out of frustration. Shouldn't be there, And then someone threw a punch a hole in the door out of frustration. Hey, you shouldn't be there. But in reality TV, you can. But here's
You're
the
rewarded.
argument.
You're rewarded with screen time.
Well, in sport, if in an ice hockey match they're fighting, well, it's part of the game. One would argue. Okay, rugby, NFL, there's collision sports. Injuries are going to happen. It's what you signed up for. Well, in reality TV, I don't remember that. That's nothing in the contract. If it's, to my knowledge, it's a workplace. To my knowledge, this is standards we're meant to be at. But there's a bit more of allowance, a bit of a double standard to which is allowed, and not only that, they keep it going. So it becomes arguably an unsafe place.
Right. And you're right. I never thought of that. Like, that's not part of it. So then when you see that fight break out, where's the separation?
Where's Steve? Where's the Steve break up? There is no Steve. You're fucked. You're on your own. And furthermore,
Gosh.
you might only get 2 minutes of that on their time. That fight might have blown out for an hour or two. And you don't see all the ugly shit that actually happened, or someone broke down in tears, which a witness. Like, you don't see it. You don't see it.
Yeah.
It's unregulated.
It's totally unregulated. One last thing, and we kind of touched a little, I think, with mental health, but you guys have relationship experts on your show. I've heard you talk about those before and what their role is. Do you mind sharing briefly a little bit of what the relationship experts are supposed to be doing versus what they're actually doing
Oh, yeah.
when working
Yeah.
with you on the
So,
show?
well, firstly, I got to correct what you're saying by the word expert. They're not. They got a producer's puppet up their ass, which is called a microphone earpiece, and that they're speaking upon that. It's no different. So call them puppets, actors. That's a far more.
But they're
That's where.
positioned as experts. That's what they tell you. That's what they tell their audiences, right?
Well, the shocking thing that they come from a professional background, who then leverage that professional experience to get on a reality show. So it brings that level of integrity, which is hard to debunk. But when
Mm-hmm.
you witness exactly how it's been constructed on a TV show, they've kissed that professionalism goodbye and installed a TV show presenter, being completely guided by producers instructing them what to do. So they'll repeat lines over and over. Like John Aiken, fucking hell, he was the worst one. He always fucked his lines up compared to the other ones. So, you're having a conversation on the couch therapy session, and they'll pause for 30 seconds and they'll have a microphone earpiece. So how is that a professional? So it's not. At the end of the day, it's a TV show. That's it. That's all it is. Their part, in my opinion, having that background is amazing because it increases the brand or the real, they're genuine experts. And perhaps maybe 10, 20 years ago they were. But the moment they've stepped onto a TV show set and they don't have their own professional opinions, they have got producers' opinions for the show. They've kissed that goodbye. They've crossed the line where I don't feel they can even possibly go back. I'm not sure. But that's my opinion on it. They're puppets. It's a TV show. It's entertainment. It's not real.
I feel like that's it. That's it. That's what people need to know is it's entertainment. It's not real life. And people think it is. Not everybody. A lot of people are waking up and realizing they're watching a produced show, right? Curated content. But so very recently, in the last few months, you decided you were going to speak out about your contract. You have been very vocal, especially on TikTok and in some interviews about that. What was the tipping point for you that you were ready to finally speak and say, this is not right?
It was by fluke. I watched the first week of this year's Married at First Sight, and there was someone on the show that said I didn't get a correct match. Then I later went back through my contract and the application process, and I couldn't remember. I was like, damn. Yeah, this guy got stitched up because there is an opportunity where you clearly say what you want to find as an ideal partner. So my first video was about reviewing that. Sort of just, I thought people would be interested, and I thought, hang on, and then I mentioned it this is information that production clearly knows. So they can stitch you up, and it's what you signed up for. So it's a risk. But then I said after that, because I was digging through my paperwork, and I thought, well, I've got this contract, and I had a quick breeze over it again. I thought, this thing's so fucked. It's so one-sided. Do you want me to review that? And then I got heaps of comments saying and DMs saying review it. I'm like, all right. So it's quite in depth, and no one wants to sit there and listen to someone talk for an hour about a contract. It's boring. So I found the juiciest parts and tried to summarize it the best I can. Well, what I did not expect is radio shows around Australia that are national picked up on it, talked about it, and then took the piss out of me, including and the awesome thing about that is it's not just gossipy stuff. It was genuine journalism going.
The news,
this is fucking cooked. Now, I've already had legal letters from Channel 9 saying cease and desist, and I thought, I can handle that again if this happens. If I'm only leaking the contract, what can go wrong? Didn't happen. And then unexpectedly, this guy called Rob McKnight, he tapped in and roasted the shit out of me, saying, it's what you signed up for. And then I edited him out of context. I did what reality TV does to him, and I made him say words he never said. And then he got so pissed.
It was genius, by the way. It was
eat shit, son. But what I was doing, I got his attention. And then he did another segment about me, about taking me out of context, saying Ben's a master manipulator. I'm like, yep, I learnt from the best. How good's that? And he's a proper journalist.
Yeah.
So I used reality TV tactics against a journo. And then he took the piss out of me again, roasting me. So it went back and forth to a point where we were slipping in each other's DMs going, made another news article on Channel 7, fucking have that, Benny boy. Couldn't respect the guy's drive to fucking roast me. And he did it very well. And he also goes, mate, if you want to unpack this, here's my number. And then I explained exactly this. I explained, there's no offense. I respect what you're doing, and thanking him because you're bringing this attention to light. Like, you sort of fell for the trap. I was like, what's this trap? What's this you're talking about? And then I spoke a bit what we're talking about, their production tactics, about sleep deprivation. Now, this guy's a journo, like 20 odd years in the industry, and he had no idea. And so that was shit.
And this is the people that don't know that if they knew, their mind could be changed.
And I was like, fuck. Like, and that's what the news article had come out again. And he's going, had a great chat with Ben. Like, it was real shit. It was a real genuine chat. And I said, mate, I was being a dick and willing to look like a dick, which I have, in order for these issues to surface.
Yeah. You got to make them pop culture. Yeah, you got to make them pop culture.
Oh, yeah. So that's what I was doing. So people get drawn. Oh, Ben's a dick. What's he talking about? And that's what I'm also hopeful of, is people do question what they're shown. People do question. They got ChatGPT on their phone. Type it in, gives you the answer.
Yep.
Like there it is. There it is. Like, and then hopefully people are smart enough to figure this shit out. And then go, maybe there is some, crooked shit behind reality TV. Maybe that person was put in a situation to act in a certain way. Oh, that's fascinating shit. So I think that is able to bring questions to it. It's not going to stop the juggernaut of reality TV, but I think it's going to put extra light on the behind the scenes and the puppeteers with the strings. And if that can lead to people stop trolling people online, if that can lead to change, you first got to shift people's opinion. And,
exactly.
I was just hated evil person. So the hardest thing for me is, like, it's going to be discredited. But if there's a superstar reality person that starts speaking like we are, and there has been, like, people more influential than me, and I've got nothing in comparison, I think that's where it can change. Yeah. Or, if a superstar in a reality show in Australia, people have, I think one person's committed suicide, I think, on a reality show. But, like, if it gets to a point, like, which I think it will.
I do too. That's one of the.
Get that far is more right.
And we've both stated this before, but there have been several more than just the Love Island. Like there's several suicides that have come from people's really and when I was at my worst position, that thought was in my mind very prevalently. When you're at the point where, like, you think you've lost everything and there's no way out, and you can't function the way that you're used to functioning, and you feel like you're never, like, I couldn't shake this feeling of I'm never going to be the same person I was before this. And that person worked so hard to become the person that they were. And I was like, I can't, that was the feeling. I'm like, I can't be that person ever again. And it was the darkest few months of my life. Like, I isolated myself from people, which doesn't help. It makes it worse. And I kept thinking to myself, if I'm going through this, I'll handle it. But there's a lot of people that might not be able to handle it. And those are the people that I need to fight for.
Yeah.
And it's just
trying to,
I don't want it to happen.
The right message, right sport to them. It's bloody hard to do.
Yeah, it is. And I just can't believe that it's so hard to believe that we're going to be at the point where I think it's possible something horrible happens while filming, or horrible happens while the show's airing. And while the show's airing is when that person's at their peak popularity, right? Where the most eyes are on them. And I don't want us to get to that point. Like, I believe we're better than that as people.
You're right. I think it's like sort of perhaps any industry in the world. Like, 100 years ago, we used to have chimney sweepers. Stick a kid up a fucking chimney. Like, that was the norm. That was the baseline of
Yeah.
like, well, it's just how it is. And then we're like, well, that's not right. Or
We shouldn't
flogging
have
someone
child
working.
labor.
Yeah, child labor. Like, there was a normality in society where, like, I know American history, slavery. That was the norm. And then people started to question it and go, well, that's fucking wrong.
Yeah.
And then finally a shift. Like, it's just the world going through
Women not being able to vote or
yeah.
work.
Like, these are unrelated political sort of things in society where you go, enough's enough. This is unfair. It's not right. People rise up. People make change. And we're thinking, oh, it's reality TV. But just like you said in sport, in rugby, for example, concussions, like head high tackles, people get driven in the ground, broken this, broken bones. The trainer would go out and they used to call it the magic sponge. It was just a bit of water, put splash on their face. They sort of shake them up for 10 minutes. They've just got out of concussion. Like, can you catch the ball? You know your name? Yep, we'll get back on the field. That was normal in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then, yes, science has determined that that's fucking wrong. People like the blood sport, but it's now shifted to a safer space. So if it can be done for entertainment, like extreme sport, well, extreme mental battles is basically reality TV.
Well, and
You're
I
on
think
the brink of
we're,
fucking snapping each time.
yeah, you're exactly
And
right.
now we
And I think,
understand we got a lot more awareness about how mental health works these days and more comfortable, but greater understanding. And
yeah,
workplaces have got wellness days and mental health days because now we understand it better. But reality TV, it's not there.
we've got to catch it up. And
And that's
I'll
the
say,
extreme of mental health. That's the extreme of mental fucking fatigue.
yeah. And I think you were right when you were talking about the science of, we didn't have the science of this stuff, right? We didn't understand how the brain worked or how concussion. It wasn't that long ago. We had mild concussions, moderate concussions, severe concussions before we realized a concussion's a concussion. And it's by person, it's by concussion. They're all different. We can't have them labeled like that, right? And that's science evolving. And I think what we're seeing here, and I actually have it right here, this is one of the first studies of its kind, and it is called. It was written by Christine Chapayas. Oh God, I forgot how to say her last name. Chapayas, I think. Sorry, Christine, if you're listening. It's called Reality Check: A Qualitative Study of the Mental Well-Being Among Participants. First published study that was done with 15 cast members being interviewed about their mental health before, during, and after these shows. And there were three themes that I just want to share with you. I wasn't expecting to do this, but these are the three themes that that she determined from her research that's now published to be the results from being on a reality TV show. One was that there's unfulfilled motivations, expectations, and promises. And that one's obvious, right? Like you think you're going to get your 15 minutes of fame and it's going to go a certain way, and chances are it's not going to go the way you think. The second one was compromised authenticity and identity, which is you watch yourself on TV and all of a sudden you don't really know who you are anymore because it's different. And that's where I was talking myself a little bit about you got to separate yourself from the edit, right? Because what you're seeing up there is going to gaslight you in a way.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
third, which I think is the most prevalent, which is why I want to bring this up, is the cast members have challenging mental health and coping skills following the show. And it's because you can't prepare for what you're going through or the impact it's going to have on you. And so this being one of the first studies of its kind that's been published and peer reviewed and recognized by the Psychology of Popular Media, this is the kind of stuff I think that's going to really highlight and turn our conjecture and other people's conjecture about what it does to the mental health of us and cast members, and really start to put some science around it, some research around it, so that we can start treating it for what it really is in reality TV, where they don't have to abide by any rules or regulations or science or the support the mental health of cast members in a very real way.
Mm.
So I think we're
I'm
at the
glad you.
beginning of that.
I'm glad you brought that up. First time I heard that study,
It
and
just
I
was published
resonated
2 weeks
with it.
ago.
I resonated particularly the last two. Watching
Mm.
myself on the show, I was like, "Fuck, that's not me." I had friends reach out and go, "That I know you for years, mate, and that character wasn't you." And I was believing it was. So, fuck, that was hard to wrap my head around. And then, secondly, yeah, how do you cope with that? How do you fucking hell? You don't go to the local store and pick up the book on it. It doesn't exist. So
No.
it's still evolving to and I've probably the producers are unaware of this or don't give a fuck. You'll figure it out. Go see a doctor. You'll be fine. Where it's not that simple. So it's super hard to manage. And why would they give a fuck? They're making tens of millions of dollars. So everyone's got their own problems as well. So that
Mm-hmm.
becomes our problem. And it's so good that there are studies out there. Like we're talking right now, these are just opinions based on
Yeah,
experience.
exactly.
But when you go to study with some data, well, shit, this becomes facts. We
Exactly.
know it's
And we need
facts.
more of these. This is the first one that I've seen.
What I'd love to do, or hope for, is try to spoke to a few people about this in media. Try to put together like a detailed, it would have to be well funded documentary. Trying to explain this is so hard. Like it would go for at least an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to get some seriously talented storytellers. It's a documentary, like the movie Concussion. Like you need a Will Smith to fucking turn up and make a movie and going fuck, like, and actually people make their eyes wide open. Like, and it's credit to you
Yeah.
for making this podcast because I don't have millions of dollars to make a big Hollywood blockbuster to really open up people's minds and shift cultural change.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's required to that point.
One of the things that I've also learned the last year, 2 years I've been working with UCAN and kind of really trying to change this industry is it's so much about the community, more so than it is about what's on that screen. And what I mean by that is you've got your base level content, right, that you watch on Netflix or Channel 9 or whatever that is. Then you've got your community, right? The people that watch it and the people that form opinions on it, the people that talk about it on Reddit, the people that listen to a podcast or Rob Nick Knight about it. And they're being shaped in the way they think by the people they listen to, the people they trust, just like with the news, right? And then they go and they talk to their friends about it and they're back on Reddit. And then there's commentators that are critiquing the opinions and the commentary of the top tier podcasts. And they're doing commentary on those people who are doing commentary on the base content, all the while everyone's talking about it on Reddit, Instagram, TikTok, and everybody's consuming content. And it creates this like community of people around these shows. But part of that community is what are the movies about the topic? What are the papers about the topic? What are the podcasts about the topic? And all of these things feed into the narratives and feed into how people view these shows, these people, these storylines, these couples, whatever that is. And I think part of what needs to happen to move this community along is exactly what you're saying. We need different types of content covering it, journalistic content exposing it, documentaries, social commentary in terms of like maybe satire, stuff like that, or like a concussion type of movie where you're kind of bringing people along and bringing them together in a way that maybe they wouldn't ever see it if that type of community wasn't considered. I don't know if that makes
Mm.
sense, but it's just
No,
like
it
this
does.
community of people,
Yeah.
and you've got to bring them together through all the different outlets or channels that they're getting their information from.
That I think could be a few different ways to make some giant leaps forward. So yeah, someone like myself speaking out with a very tiny platform, and also getting an unfavorable edit on the show, people think fuck him, like it's what he deserves anyway. So it's like politicians. Like if they're an unliked person, which most are, they can't really drive change. And when there's backlash, they're like, too bad, it's what you fucking, it's what you deserve. But if you get a super liked individual, maybe from reality TV, who had the best favorable edit ever, and they speak out about it,
Yeah.
possibly generate change. But why would they? Because
Why
he's
would
part of the
they?
secret sauce. What I've found through my experience is the people who had great edits got looked after.
Oh yeah,
That's the double standard.
because they can keep making money off of them. They can both make money off of each other. I've seen that.
Well,
There's
yeah.
so many people. I've talked to many people, and mostly it's the kind of like the forgotten person, right? The person like you or me that was on a season and then didn't continue a career in reality TV or influencing or whatever that is. But those people that have, that still go to the premieres on the red carpets, that still go to or have a podcast talking about it and gossiping about it, or continue to promote other shows on the network or whatever that is, they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them, even
Mm,
if they're like, yeah, it's kind of fucked up how they
mm.
treat us, what they do to us, but they
There's
can't.
only one person that I know of who's done extremely well is Joshua Fox, who does this
Oh
MAFS
yeah,
funny. Yeah, I think
I've seen.
he's done like a 3-part sort of mini journalist documentary way, but it's audio, so it's super low budget, but the stories and the morals and the lessons that he unpacks, because he takes a piss out of maths in a very clever way, but he's made
Mhm.
some. He's pulled back the curtain by being I wouldn't say a journalist. He's like a paparazzi sort of guy. He's fucking smart.
Yeah.
Makes great points. Like he's witnessed it or studied the show. He knows more show about me, despite me being on it. But I think that's a great stepping stone. And
Hmm.
even his influence, it's very small. But if something like that is heightened into a well produced documentary, like a proper documentary, then yeah, maybe then.
Yeah,
Hard to
I agree.
sell.
Well, that's the funny thing, because I have talked to several different um, documentary filmmakers, and each time they can't get anyone to pick it up. And I tell them, like, while we're talking about it, while we're planning, while we're building a pitch, and I say, I'm like, here's the problem: is you're trying to disrupt an industry that's very profitable, and every network and every streaming service is benefiting from it. So it's going to take the ultra hyper aware or hyper meta network or streaming service to do that, to take something like that and distribute it. And
Mm.
so each time I say that, and I think people realize that until the tides are actually turning on them, they're never going to pick something up like that, and you're never going to get it funded or distributed. And I think that's going to be the big challenge with something like a documentary like that.
It can be done. Uh, it can be done. I don't know how, I don't know who, but I
I
still
agree. I haven't
it's
figured out
it's
how.
it's an incredible. I think it's sitting on a. There's a golden nugget if it's done the right way,
I agree.
uh, and it's people can ask a lot of questions. Like everyone's familiar, or at least heard of reality TV. So if you have it, it's done in a similar way. It's like, hey, here's a magic show, but then you watch the show and like, here's how the magic tricks are done. People, are, oh fuck, that's interesting. So
Yeah, I want to see
I
that.
think
Yep.
that's how it can be created. If especially when you get studies, it's like this is how it's a trick. It's a fucking
Yep.
trick. It's a complicated one and hard to absorb, but I don't know how else to make the change. I'm open to ideas. Like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I'll just keep
Me
doing what I
neither. But it's fun to speculate and talk about it a little bit. I will say that.
can. Mm.
So before we wrap up here, and I'll give you a chance to ask me a question at the end, but if you had a magic wand, speaking of magic tricks, you had a magic wand, and there was one thing you could change right now about reality TV that you think would benefit the most people, what would it be?
Having the Steve equivalent behind the scenes, who also Doesn't have to make airtime. I would say an independent regulator. So when and there are laws like they review reality TV and develop boundaries that are backed by law, where they say this person's gone too far, and
I love
also
that.
have a disclosure before a show's aired. So, like, trigger warning: this show contains violence. Or like, in a movie, it's like this is based on a true story. Like, there's something right at the front explaining before the show starts. This has been edited out of context for dramatic effect. Just so you know, like, so everyone's smart enough to go,
Well,
right, okay, yeah, right.
it's
That's didn't
funny you
happen like
say
that.
that because about a year ago with moveon.org, which is a organization here in the US, we put together a petition that has about 35,000 signatures right now. And
Wow.
that is to put a disclaimer at the beginning of every Netflix show that says episodes are for entertainment purposes only, and the content can be edited, manipulated, and presented in any order for storyline purposes. And I think all I want is that disclaimer at the front of these shows just to remind people what they're
Yeah.
seeing is produced and not real. So I'm
It's
with
me
you.
exposing the contract, like the of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm explaining like this is how it is. So if
That's
a
the language
moron,
I took for that was from the contract.
yeah,
I took it right from the contract.
totally, yeah. It's so if a moron approaches you in the street going, "Oh, you're a fucking blah blah blah," I seen on TV. It's like, did you see the opener, mate? It's like there's the facts, bro. Like it's the biggest don't argue. It's like this is produced shit. Like how dumb are you? And if they're too dumb,
I
it's like,
know.
man, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But
I know.
it's you got that forever now. It's like, yeah, this is out of context. It's a TV show. It's entertainment. These are facts. That's it.
Yeah. That
So
is
that'd be
it
great.
is
I
that
think that'd be great
simple.
steps forward.
Yeah. It is that simple. I think it the egos though and the fact that they rely so heavily on the people that believe it to be real, I think that makes it kind of difficult for them where they wouldn't want to do something like that. Plus they just rely so heavily on it that it doesn't make sense for them to do that, even though it would probably help a lot of people who get a lot of hate.
There is a third thing as well.
Yeah.
It's post show. So if I believe and you believe there's a lot of negligence by production, so as a result, having treatment and support uh, unlimited. It's kind of like insurance. It's like
Yeah.
they got to pay for it. They say that they do, and I can speak hand on heart. And I've got evidence to support this. They fucking don't. You're on your own. So knowing the fact that they can fuck you over and your mental health, and it's like if that goes too far, because probably accidents happen. I don't believe that the producers are awful people, but I believe they're completely negligent and complacent. So
I
therefore, if they
agree.
take it too far, it's similar to like workers' compensation. Like construction's the same. Hey, shit happens on construction sites. Like it's going to happen. Accidents will happen, but there's better support because someone lost their leg. So it's like fuck. So now on workers' comp, it's shit, but it's also hey, you want to make an omelette, you're going to break some eggs. So if you want to make a reality TV show, and unfortunately you got fucked over mentally, well, that's on the TV show to go. Well, here's a shit ton of money, like, or here's
Yeah.
proper support, or here. So I would like to see that evolve.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I don't think they should be in a position when they've done this, they've made their money off of these shows, then they get to decide who needs support and how long they need it. The 6 sessions or whatever it was you mentioned earlier. I mean, I've talked to cast members who are like, the production company's asking for like my therapist's notes, like your case notes. That's a violation of
Mm.
privacy, and that's a violation of the patient, client relationship. They don't have access. Well, then they're going to stop paying for my therapy.
Mm.
What? Who are they to make that decision? You know what I mean? It's
That's
just
right.
I agree with you. I think that's a very important uh, sort of expectation that we should have of these production companies. So those are
I think
great.
it's reasonable.
I agree with all of those.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. How's it going to happen? So keep talking about it. Keep getting the right people in the right place that are more powerful and influential than us, and then it can snowball.
Exactly. Before we wrap up here, I like to give guests a chance to ask me anything. Is there anything that you want to ask me that we haven't already talked about?
Your haircut, mate, is beautiful. So, how did we get on the same styling path? I don't know how that happened. I
On
mean, we're on the
opposite
other
sides
sides
of
of
the
the world,
world.
but something's a match here. Is that
I think
coincidence?
well, I told you I got my haircut right before we recorded today. So I just took a picture of you and handed it to my barber and said, Joe, make this happen.
Oh, see, you got the crooked bit here. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine is I have a very thin hair and receding hairline. So like my fade is just really high because it makes my hairline look more full. But
Actually,
that's
I
the
I do
secret
want to
sauce
ask,
there.
how old are you?
I'm 39.
Fucking I'm 40. You handsome devil, you.
Well, I turned 40 in a few weeks, in May 13th.
All right, so
So
the
I'm
real
hitting
question
it.
is, where's my invite to your party for the big 4-0? Come on.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was just talking last night with my girlfriend. I'm like, hey, I have to make a decision if I'm going to have a 40th birthday party this year. And she's like, no, you're having a 40th birthday party. It's just which weekend are we doing it? So I will be sure to let you know if you want to fly out to Chicago.
Yeah, it's just down the road. I'll pop over for the weekend. Yeah, easy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. You can leave Friday, chill at the airport for 2 hours, so you can get home by Monday. Right?
Yeah,
Isn't that about right?
I
How
think it
long is
sounds
the flight?
reasonable.
Have you been to Chicago?
No, I've been in the States 4 times, but didn't quite make Chicago.
Oh, you froze up for a second. Have you been to Chicago?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Oh,
I've
okay.
been in the States 4 times. Never made Chicago. And
Well,
yeah, I know a lot about United States because yeah, for years I took around mature Americans where I've had to understand American history and politics and culture and everything and sort of translate that to Australians' perspective. So I've had to.
mm,
The cultures are so very similar, but I know what the key differences are.
wait. Now we could probably do a whole podcast on that. But really quickly, what are some of the key differences?
You interpret, I think, tall poppy syndrome. So it's a cultural phenomenon in Australian New Zealand culture, which stems from convict behaviour. So if you are becoming successful, people talk shit to bring you down. That's why you see multimillionaires in Australia look like fucking bums on the street because they don't want to show off.
Ah,
That's an interesting one on a street level.
and here you got to
Uh,
show off money
yeah,
even if you don't have it.
interpretation of freedom. Right. Fucking hell, I've figured this one out for such a long time. United States, you guys had a civil war and you fought for freedom. Australia's never properly fought for freedom unless you're Aboriginal. They're still fighting for freedom. So you guys had your constitution spawned from a war. Ours was gifted to us, and we had a thing called Federation of States. So you value freedom and you value weapons and you value your constitution. See, we're a bit different. We hate all the politicians equally.
Well,
We
I
don't
think people here, there's like a cult of personality around politicians. It's very
have,
creepy. I
yeah.
hate all of the politicians, especially now. I think they're all trash. Like
Oh,
even the
well,
ones I would think are good on policy that I like, I think they're trash humans because they don't fight for it. So I think more
that's a
people
very
should think like
Australian
that.
mindset towards
Mm,
when it comes to politics. We don't have a team like I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. Like people shift.
yeah.
People sort of evolve from left wing to right wing, and so some people stick like that, but most go, yeah, I'll see what's going to be best supporting me at the time, and they
Yeah.
shift, and I think that's a key difference.
Well, I think we used to be like that here, and it's just ever since really Obama and then Trump, it's like you've got to pick your side and you've got to be loyal. And now there's so many things that, like, I'm a hippie, okay? Like I'm a left hippie, like socialist, okay? So I I look at the trajectory of what we've done, and I'm very into politics and get politically involved and stuff. And what blows my mind more than anything is so many things that a decade ago were my hippie way of thinking are now have me like considered alt-right crazy Trumper. And I didn't change. The party's changed. I
Mm.
didn't change my view on like not wanting genetically modified food. But
Mm.
now, if you want to like get food dyes and chemicals out of our food, you're a Trumper.
That's right.
I haven't changed. I've
Yeah.
always wanted that stuff out of our food. But now I'm a Trumper because of it in the eyes
Yeah.
of other people. Never voted for Trump. Never really. I mean, I support some of, just like every nuanced person, I support some of the stuff he does or says he's going to do, like get out of war. But like now you're anti war, you're a
Yeah.
Trumper. What
Yeah.
happened?
I know you get labeled like you're a this or you're a that. And I think that's what it boils down to, this paradigm that we're in. People have this ability to do critical thinking and question what they're taught. So who's pulling the strings behind the curtains when it comes to fucking up our foods?
Yeah,
Who's driving Trump? Who's driving the left wing and right wing political agendas? Questioning what news channel they're on, questioning what their agendas are, and being able
exactly.
to pull back the curtain and try to figure it all out, how it all works, is really hard to do, and it requires a level of intelligence or critical thinking, just like reality
And
TV. But yeah,
skepticism and
instead of
critical
going,
thinking.
oh, this is what I believe and always have, always, mate, that's unfortunately it's all called tunnel vision. And you need to, I think, go throughout life and recalibrate what you're taught, recalibrate
Yeah,
how you think. Otherwise, you become quite limited. You'll never grow. So I think applying that
I completely
in
agree.
American society, when people are so dedicated to their political ideology, it's not going to shift. That's a hard bubble to be in.
Yeah,
And I think that all
it is.
stems
I
from the
bang my head
war.
against.
That's
Yeah,
American style interpretation of politics. That's a toughie.
good guys and
That's I mean,
bad
there's so
guys.
many similarities between Australia and
Yeah,
the United States, but I think that's a key difference.
that's really interesting. I'd heard people from other countries will share like their uh, uh, what they think about Americans and our culture, but no one's ever said that before. That's very insightful. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's our differences.
Maybe I should just come to Australia for my birthday and we'll do it over there.
No, you'd love it. I can already get a sense of your personality. You'd be well received because you don't fit the mold of the moment you said you dislike both politics. It's like, oh, you're an honorary Aussie straight away.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I love it. I'm going to add that to my Instagram profile. Well, Ben, this has been so much fun talking to you. And I, again, want to thank you just for not just for your time, but for your advocacy and your sort of like unrelenting pursuit to expose the truth. And I think what I saw, and I've told you this privately, but like the way you whiffed back and forth with Rob McKnight and then had a conversation and changed his mind on a lot of things, I think that was really impressive. And I wish if I ever have the opportunity to do that, I hope that I am half as thorough and half as well thought out and courageous as you are. Because I'm just at this point, I'm just like, let's fucking fight. You want to fight? Let's fight. Let's debate, not physically fight. I'm not a physically fighting person, but let's argue about it. But you did it with such a
Yeah,
relatable way that you actually were able to talk to him and change his mind by explaining to him how things are going. So thank you for doing that and keep
you're
up that
very
good
welcome,
work.
and I'll give you the code. So step one, I'll poke people that's worth poking in a shit way, or if they poke me, people think I'm an idiot, and I'll sound like a bit. I think I said before, I'll sound like the American redneck, which I enjoy leaning into that as my identity. So I don't always sound as intelligent. So people sort of thinking, okay, well, he's at a bit of a low level here. So that gives me the opportunity to shift to element of surprise. And I was able to do that with Rob McKnight, and he's respect the bloke, and allow that, because he wanted to take me down and realize, well, actually Ben's got good points.
Yeah. Well, please don't think of yourself as anything other than intelligent and incredibly smart, and especially in the art of persuasion. So good job there. Where can people connect with you if they want to connect with you on social media or anywhere else?
Well, I don't have an OnlyFans page, but if LinkedIn...
I was expecting the big announcement.
No. Anyway, mate. LinkedIn, TikTok, my old tag still used now is called @Walters_tours or Walters Tours, and the last name's Walters. I've been traveling fucking forever, which I think has helped me broaden my communication style and interpretation of the world instead of just being in a bit of a bubble. So I have that ability to question what I think just through years and years and years of travel. For me, it's been a great teacher. So, mate, anyone that wants to shout out, give me a message, great. Just try not to send me a dick pic, please. Girlfriend, mate, too, please.
Absolutely. And by the way, those links will all be in the show notes below. If you guys just want to click through, give them a follow, shoot them a DM. Thanks for coming on today. Keep up the good work. I'm sure we will be talking again at some point in real life, maybe in person, and maybe on the show again. So we'll talk soon. Thanks again.
No doubt we will. Cheers, Nick.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Eyes Wide Open. If you enjoy the show, the best way to support us is by sharing or dropping a review. For more information and content, check out engagewithnick.com or find me on Instagram at nthompson513. Don't go through life blind. Do the work so you can show up in the world with your eyes wide open.